So good morning again, everyone. My name is Fiorella Altair Christine. I'm the Vice President of Quality Initiatives. I'm here today with you to go over the American Rescue Plan Act grant round 2. Okay, I want to specify that round 2 is very different than round 1. And what I mean by that is you are able to apply whether you were approved or whether you were not approved. Okay, so again, this has round 1 and round 2 are very separate, regardless of the status you're in round 1. Okay, so again, round 2 is very similar to round 1. The only difference is that you will be paid in one lump sum, not like round 1 that you're getting 3 installments. So regardless if you've received your second or third installment and you submit your round 2 application and you're approved, you're going to get paid regardless of your status. So hopefully that is that's made very clear. Okay, the other difference of round 2 is the actual application. We did add I shouldn't say we, this is the Division of Early Learning Department of Education added a couple of questions that were not there previously. The purpose of you all attending is that we can avoid you making mistakes or filling it out incorrectly, and that would help us avoid sending the application back and forth multiple times. Our staff is working mostly on this project, and we're trying to get the funds out to you as quickly as possible, but please be patient with us. We have 1,500 providers in this community because it's not just contracted providers. This grant is for any provider that provides early learning services to children, right? What the state calls quote unquote child care. So it's very important that you guys give us the chance to review your application. We'll send it back for any edits, and then we'll approve it. As far as time frame, I don't have a time frame for you. Like I said, there's over 1,500 programs in this community, Miami-Dade Monroe. But as soon as your application is approved, then you have roughly 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, the ELC makes that payment, and again, it's going to be a one lump sum payment. Okay. All right, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Okay, so again, for purposes of this training, you will not receive a presentation. There is no PowerPoint. This is a live demo. I'm going to be using one of our early learning partners access that gave us the ability to do that. So for purposes of this training, so that you can see a live demo of how it's going to look for you. Okay, so this is the provider portal. Now, a lot of you never remember how to get here because you haven't saved it to your favorites, which is okay. So if you go to our ELC website, you can see the ELC website. It's elcmdm.org. If you go to our website, all of the information's on here, right? So how do I get to the provider portal? Well, if I go to the little purple box, it says provider portal. And I scroll down and I'm going to click on the first link that says Florida's Early Learning Provider Services Portal. Once I click on that link, it takes me to the provider portal. Okay, so this is where you're going to go for your American Rescue Plan Act grant. Now, the other thing you need to do when you go into the ELC website, you're going to want to know all the tools or resources about the American Rescue Plan Act grant. So if you go to providers, provider corner, and once you get to provider corner, you're going to scroll down and it says American Rescue Plan Act. Okay, you're going to click on that. And as you can see, all the information that you need is on here. This is the same information as round 1. The eligibility criteria hasn't changed. The base rate amount hasn't changed. And neither has the bonus. So pretty much it's the exact same thing, with the difference that I said 2 things. They added a few questions to the application and you're going to be paid in one lump sum. Okay, but this is very important that you take a look at this website of the information that we have. And then most importantly, the resources right here. This FAQ is going to be like your Bible to all the questions that you have. Most of all your questions will be on here after you've read this document. If your question is not on here, feel free to email us. But I would ask you to please look at the document before you email us, because you'll get your answer a lot quicker that way. Okay. And then the second document we're going to go over in today's presentation, it's called Spending and Documentation Guide. This is also a very important document. This document tells you exactly what the categories are that are acceptable, and how to document for auditing purposes. Keep in mind, these are federal dollars, so you want to make sure you abide by the rules and regulations of this grant and that you only purchase things that are allowable, because you don't want to catch yourself paying back the government for these dollars. These are grant dollars, but if you're audited and you don't follow the policies and procedures of this grant, you may be expected to return the funds. And then the last document is just the provider eligibility form. All right. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the EOC provider portal. So here it is. Like I said, I'm going to be using one of our early learning partners, Access. Bear with me as I log in. Okay, so once I log in, I hit enter. This is the first thing that's going to come up, this little box. This pop-up box is super important. A lot of you are confusing this pop-up box with your round 1, installment 2, or installment 3. It'll tell you here what it is. The American Rescue Plan Act grant round 2. Round 2 is separate than second installment. Okay, so we have round 1 and round 2. So the very first thing that you want to do is click on round 2 grant calculator. Now, if you are a provider that has already submitted their round 2 application because they opened up on Sunday, and a lot of people are always eager to fill out applications, most likely it got returned to you because we wanted you to attend this session. Now, if it got returned to you, this pop-up box you aren't going to have, but it's okay. You'll still have access to the grant calculator, and I'll show you how to access that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and access the grant calculator right through here through the pop-up box. So I'm going to click grant calculator. As you can see, it opened up a calculator. This is going to automatically calculate all your amounts, which you need to do prior to your application, because this is the only way you'll know potentially how much money you have and what you will spend the money on. Right? So before you fill out the application, you want to fill this grant calculator out. So for purposes of this training, obviously all the information that I'm going to enter is fictitious, but this will show you what I'm going to do. Now, this is the other thing that's fairly new. It's asking you for part-time children versus full-time children. That definition, I'm not going to be giving you because every provider defines part-time and full-time slightly different for their children. So as far as school readiness, you will know if the child is a school readiness part-time or full-time because that's in the portal. But for your private pay, for your children, VPK children, your TCT children, all that information, that's how you define part-time and full-time. So for any infants, 0 to up to 12 months, when I say up to 12 months is because the next line is for 12 months up to 2 years. So for here, I'm going to enter every child that's not 12 months, right? Below 12 months. So I'm going to put that I have 10 here, and then I have, actually, I'm going to say that I have no part-time infants. Okay, so that's going to say a 0. Then I have to enter all my 12-month-old to 2-year-olds. I'm going to put that I have 20, and they're all full-time. 2-year-olds. Now, this one is just the 2-year-olds. Okay, so that means that I'm not going to, whatever children I entered up to 2 are obviously not going to be in this column. The idea is for you to give me your total number of enrolled children without duplicating them in any one of these rows. All right, so I'm going to put that I have 20 2-year-olds. Now, 3-year-olds till kindergarten entry. I have 30. It doesn't matter what funding source these children are. They can be VPK, they can be school readiness, they can be private pay. They can be children that are receiving other grants. I don't know the names of all the grants out there, so I'm going to say any other grants, including the Children's Trust Child Scholarship. The idea of this section right here is include all your children. Now, for school age, I don't want all your children, okay? Because this grant was specifically, quote unquote, what the state calls you, childcare, okay? These grant dollars are not for, public schools. They're not for older kids. The idea is to help the community of early childhood. So again, here the definition to school age is you're going to enter only the children that are in kindergarten up to the age of 12 that are enrolled in your morning care or aftercare, quote unquote, they're attending childcare, or that are enrolled to attend on breaks and holidays. So I'm going to say, yes, I have 15 of those children, and they're part-time because they don't come to my school Monday through Friday. That's my definition. So I'm going to put those 15 children there. Now, that adds up automatically as to how many total children. You don't have to worry about totaling it up. You just need to make sure that that total equals your total. For auditing purposes, this is on the day that you apply. If you apply today, your enrollment numbers today, November 4th, have to match the application. Now, if you apply 2 weeks from now, your enrollment numbers have to match that date. Okay, so always remember that your submission of your application has to match whatever you have on file that date in your records. All right, so now I have to say, of those total children, as you can see, whenever I hover over, it kind of explains to me exactly what those are. So those are little tool tips, okay? I didn't hover them over earlier, but that's kind of what the tooltip says. Now here in this section, out of the total number of enrolled, the state wants to know which one of those children are Head Start and which one of those children are school readiness. They don't care if they're VPK, if they're the Children's Trust Child Scholarship, if they're other grants. They just want to know of the total, how many belong to these 2 categories. So I said I had up to 10 children that were not quite 12 months yet. And I'm going to say that out of those 10 children, I have 4 that are early Head Start. Okay. Now, how many of the children that are in this category are they Head Start? I don't have any more, so I'm going to put 0. I have no other Head Start children in this category care level, and I have none in this one. So for those, I'll be entering 0. Okay. Now, they want to know how many of the total are school readiness. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to go back to the number 10 and go to that row. Of the 10 children, I said that 4 are school readiness. Okay. However, 4 are early Head Start or Head Start. This column is also for early Head Start child care partnerships. I know it doesn't quite say it there, but it's for all 3 categories. However, I just realized that 4 of my kids, 2 of them are duly enrolled. They received early Head Start child care partnership funding, but they're also funded by school readiness. So I'm going to put those 2 children here, and I'm going to remove them from here. Okay. You never want to duplicate a child. You only want to count them once. But the reason why I did this is because for every SR child, you get an additional $70.20. So if I don't put them here and I only put them here, you're not going to get that $70.20 for that SR child. Okay, so it's smart to do that. Plus, your numbers have to equal my numbers at the end of the day. For school readiness, we have to verify and as of the date of application. So like I said, if you submit today, your SR numbers enrolled have to match my SR numbers. So I'm going to put those 2 children here, and I'm going to put 0 here. Now I need to identify how many of these 20 children are school readiness. Okay, well, I'm going to say that only 10 of them are school readiness and 0 are part-time. Of the 20 children enrolled in this care level, how many are school readiness? 0 are part-time and 15 are school readiness. Okay. 3-year-olds up to kindergarten, how many are school readiness? 0 part-time, 20 are school readiness. Okay. Now, school age. Well, for school age, all of my 15 part-time children that are kindergarten up to the age of 12, they're all school readiness. So I'm going to put them here. Now, if they weren't all school readiness, let's say just 10 of them were, then you put 10 here and 0 here. Now, as you can see, all my calculations are done automatically for me. It's telling me that I have a total of 57 children. Miss Ali, we're going to go ahead and put your hand down because we're going to wait for the very end to ask questions. I should have mentioned that. I apologize, but we will allow you guys to ask questions just for purposes of finishing the training. We're going to go ahead and do the entire presentation, and then we'll answer questions at the end. So as you see, I have a total of 57 children, and that means that I'm going to get $70.20 extra per my base rate per SR child. Okay, so it does all my calculations. In total, it's telling me that my base grant is $71,477.40. You need to write that down somewhere because once you exit the calculator, it's going to erase. Okay. Now it's going to ask me, let's see if you qualify for any bonuses. All right. So this bonus, there is a deficit, what they call desert zone zip codes that the state of Florida has identified as desert zone zip codes. And they did expand that zip code list compared to round 1. However, All you need to do is put in your zip code of where the child care center or family child care home is located. This is not your personal zip code, obviously, okay? It's got to match the address in your profile. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to put my zip code. As you can see, the zip code that my child care center is located is in a deficit zone, okay? If it's not, it would just show like this, $0. I'm not going to get any bonus for that, okay? That's how it would show. So as you can see, my zip code does have an extra 10%. The 10% is calculated on top of the base amount, okay? Now, are you contracted with school readiness? This is not asking you about VPK, specifically school readiness. If you put no, then you just don't fill any of these columns out, these rows, sorry. If you put yes, then we have an additional question for you. If you have a school readiness contract, have you been assessed? If you have by the tool classroom assessment scoring system, which is quote unquote class. If you've never been assessed and you have a school readiness, you're going to click exempt. The word none is only if you don't have a contract with school readiness, if you don't have a school readiness contract. Let me not make it complicated. So the word none, you're going to select if you don't have a school readiness contract. So even if you have a VPK contract or you're non-contracted, you're going to select none, okay? But if you have a school readiness contract and you've never been assessed, you're going to click exempt. However, if you have a current score in your contract right now, then you're going to select that score. Now, let's say you had a score from 2018, but since then you've been exempt. Well, you're not going to put that score from 2018. It's got to be a current score. That means you would select exempt because you don't have a score this year. But if you have a score this year, go ahead and select it. Okay, so there you go. I've selected my scores 5 and above. Therefore, I'm getting a 5% bonus for being 4 and higher, and I'm getting a 15% bonus for being 5 and higher. All right. Do you offer non-traditional hours? So there was a big confusion on round 1, only because it was all of our first times doing this ARPA dollar application. But the definition of this is not because you open till 6:30 or 6:45 or 7 that you're considered non-traditional. This is actually an extra licensing piece that you have to go through with the Department of Children and Families to be licensed to offer night care and or weekends. Most of the time I've seen this only in family child care homes. So before you select this, please verify your licensing to make sure that you are licensed to offer night and weekend, because that would avoid the back and forth of resending this application back. Every time we send back the application, your SR numbers change. So if you submit it today and we send it back to you, tomorrow, but you don't resubmit till 2 weeks later, you have to update those SR numbers, okay? So keep that in mind, that the application has to always match the date that it's submitted. So I don't offer non-traditional hours, so that's a no, so I don't get a bonus. Do you agree to use at least 25% of the total grant amount on staff? Well, what does that mean? I know the definition is not quite on here, but I'm going to give it to you and then you'll see it later in your application. That is, if you answer yes, it means the workforce initiatives. What does that mean? That means that I'm going to invest 25% total of my grant is going to go to my staff, not to pay their regular payroll. It's specifically and only for these categories: bonus, a wage increase, medical or health care, tuition reimbursement, for those items. Okay, now if you just gave an increase or a bonus yesterday, that doesn't apply. Workforce incentive is for at the time that you receive the sorry, I got distracted my phone. At the time that you receive the funds and forward, that's when you're going to claim that as the 25%. Okay, so I'm going to say yes, because we know that nationally early childhood is suffering. There's not teachers, there's no qualified staff, and you want to keep and retain the staff that you already have. You may want to give them a bonus, or you can use this money to incentivize as well. So I'm going to put yes, and that gives me 10%. Okay. Now, are you a gold seal accredited? Well, if you recently lost your gold seal, you have 2 options. You would submit the application saying no, or you would hold off and submit your application once you reapply. Okay, because remember, this is at the time that you submit. So I do have gold seal, so I'm going to say yes. So I'm done. As you can see, my total grant for round 2 is $114,363.84. Of that total, I said I'm going to invest 25% on my staff on workforce incentives. That means that the total that I have to invest is $28,590.96. That you're going to have to write down because your application is not going to give you the 25%. I mean, obviously you can always calculate it on your own at the end of the day. Okay. But that's what that is. So I'm done with my calculation. I know how to proceed. So I'm going to go back to the provider portal and now I can proceed to application. However, let's say I'm not ready because somebody walked into my office. I'm going to close it. It doesn't necessarily go away. You have it right here on your common tasks. Okay. Survey grant application. As you can see, your round 1 is still there. Your installment 2 survey is still there. And then here it says round 2. So I'm going to click on round 2 because now I'm ready to get started. All right. So as I get started, you'll see right here, it just tells you the date, the final date to submit. Now there is a discrepancy between the documents that are on the EOC website under the American Rescue Plan Act grant resources and this document. Just you for right now, use the earlier date. The Division of Early Learning is aware that there is a discrepancy on the dates, but just use the earlier date. So I would say that do not submit your application past December 12th. Okay, if you're one of those people that you want to wait till December because that's when your enrollment is higher, that's up to you, but you cannot exceed December 12th because then you won't be eligible, right? We're going to close down the system the same way we closed down the system for round 1. So section 1, how does this work? Most of this information gets pre-populated from your profile, which is why there's certain areas that you cannot change. So your program name, you cannot change. It comes from your profile. Your license, any of this information, your address, you can't change it. It's grayed out. However, if you see any red marks, we want you to answer that question, right? So what provider type are you? Well, there's only 4 types. Either you're a licensed center or home, family home, or you're licensed exempt family home, or you're licensed exempt center. I'm going to put that I'm a licensed center. So I'm going to keep going on. Now I can't touch any of this. For family childcare homes, if you use your social security, you need to check this and update your social security. Now for me, it's not letting me do anything because I'm not a family childcare home. But for family childcare homes, you want to make sure you click on that if you're using your social security instead of an FEIN number, okay? Your mailing address. This information comes pre-populated also from your profile. You don't need to change it because if you change it, it's not going to change your profile. If it's wrong, go to your profile and update your profile. We don't mail out anything using this address. If you're non-contracted with a coalition, we don't use this address to mail out the check. We use the address on the W-9 that you're going to be providing. Okay, so we don't really use this for anything, this mailing address, for purposes of this grant. Now, the owner operator, you do have the ability to update that information. So as you can see, it's in red because I've changed it. So I need to update it. We want to make sure you tell us the most recent information, okay, and that it's correct. Okay, what is my phone number? Make sure you update that as well. All right. Now, the person filling out this application, the federal government wants to know what is your race, okay? What is your ethnicity? You can say prefer not to answer, obviously. That is an option. Make sure you answer that because then it stays red. Look, I didn't fill out my email and it's still in red, right? All right, gold seal. Am I gold seal, yes or no? At the time that I'm applying, yes or no? Yes, I'm gold seal, so I'm going to click on yes. Now, it's defaulted to non-gold seal. Excuse me. So make sure you change that if you are gold seal. Again, these little blue circles that have an eye are tooltips. If you don't know what it is, if you click on it, it tells you exactly what it is. Okay. Class composite score. This is what we did on the calculation. This is not a class composite score for VPK. VPK just launched in July. This ARPA dollars has been approved since I think February of this year. So obviously this class composite score has nothing to do with VPK. So please do not confuse your class composite VPK with this question. This is only for school readiness providers. Okay. So if you guys remember, I do have a school readiness contract and I said I was a 5. So I'm going to click on a 5. However, just to remind you, if I have a school readiness contract, and I don't have a current class composite, I would click on exempt. Now, if I don't have a school readiness contract and I just have a VPK contract only, or I'm non-contracted with a coalition, I'm just going to click none on that question, because if I don't answer it at all, it's going to stay in red. Okay, so you want to make sure you answer it. See, if I don't answer it at all, it's going to stay in red and you're not going to get the green submit button. Okay, so purposes of this training, I'm a 5 or higher. The hours of operation. These hours come pre-populated from your profile. If this is wrong, I would suggest you update your profile, okay? I wouldn't suggest that you make any changes here because it's not going to change your profile, and the hours of operation is not going to affect this application. These are questions that the federal government wants. We want them accurate, so go and change your profile if this is incorrect, all right? All right, section 2, we're done with section 1. Section 2, you're going to check all that apply. So for me, I'm a child care center. I have a school readiness contract. I have an early Head Start child care partnerships contract, and I have school-age children. So I'm going to click on that, and I offer VPK. All right. So that's what you're going to do. If you're not a child care center and you're a large family child care home, this is what you would click, or you would click on family if you're a regular licensed family. There's also faith-based. If you're solely Head Start or migrant Head Start, you would click on those. Now, a lot of misconception in round 1. Every provider was selecting IDEA just because they offer services to children with disabilities. That is not what this is. The Individuals with Disability Education Act is an extra licensing that you go through with the federal government. And I think it's even a certificate that you have to go through to get certified. So just because you offer services to children with disabilities does not mean that you have the IDEA. I believe in our community, in Miami-Dade and Monroe County, there's only 5 or 6 programs that have this certification. Okay, so I want to make sure you don't select that as, by accident. Now, if you're claiming in your enrollment question down below that we're going to get to, any school-age children, you have to select school age. This isn't just for those sites that offer before and after care. If you're claiming school-age children, please click on that, okay? So let's go back and click on everything that I said I had. School readiness, early Head Start, I'm a child care facility, and I'm VPK. All right, moving on. Was your program licensed or certified? In other words, did you have a DCF license on or before March 11th, 2021? If you click yes, you're going to see that automatically it's going to say yes to the second question, okay? Now, if you did not have a DCF license because you have a change of ownership, you bought a program, or whatever the case might be, and your license date is after March 11th, 2021, then you have to click no. If you click no, the second question is not automatically answered to you, okay? The second question is, does your program meet the CCDF, which is Child Care and Development Fund, health and safety requirements? If you don't know what that is, there's a tooltip. However, a lot of you were still confused by clicking on this hyperlink and reading this tooltip. So in a nutshell, I'm going to give you the simplest definition. This answer is going to be, do you have a current SR contract, yes or no? If you were licensed after March 11th and you don't have an SR contract, it's a no. And that means you're not eligible for this grant. This doesn't mean that this grant is only for SR contracted providers, because I awarded a lot of people that are not contracted with SR. However, if you don't have a license prior to March 11th, 2021, in order to meet the CCDF health and safety, you have to have an SR contract, okay? So hopefully I made that as simple as possible. So I'm going to go back for purposes of this training. It's a yes and yes for me. All right, moving forward. What is the current status of your program? I'm open. I don't think I've seen any more temporary closures due to COVID or any public health and safety. So I'm going to click open. For me, if you happen to have a temporary closure, then go ahead and click on it and the box will turn red and you have the ability to write a note and tell us exactly the reason why you have a temporary closure. Okay, you have to be very detailed on that. If you're permanently closed, you would select permanently closed, and just know that you would not qualify. You would not be eligible. Okay. All right. Have you completed a current child care resource and referral? Well, if you have a school readiness or VPK contract, I will tell you that this is a yes, because that is a mandatory process to obtain a contract. You have to fill this out. However, if you don't have a contract with us and you've never done a profile, don't put no, okay? Because you have to have a CCR&R profile to qualify. So if you've never contracted with us, reach out to us by email and we will tell you what the process is to do a profile. If you already have a profile, but it's an old one, 21, 22, you need to submit a new one, okay? So you won't qualify with a 21, 22 CCR&R profile. So go in, enter, and do a 22, 23 profile, okay? So this should always be a yes, because if it's a no, you're not going to qualify. Now make sure that you don't just put yes, right? Make sure that you have a 22, 23 profile. All right, have you ever had a contract with a coalition and were terminated and eligibility revoked within the past 5 years? Okay, so again, if I have a contract right now with a coalition, then this would be a no, that I haven't had one terminated. However, if we terminated you 5 days ago and we didn't revoke you, you can still put no, because this is and eligibility revoked. Now, if we revoked your eligibility for 5 years, which is what our coalition usually does, then you would put yes, and just know that you're not going to be eligible for this grant, okay? Are you under investigation or have been convicted of child care fraud? Absolutely not for me, so I'm going to put no. Have you submitted a W-9? If you have a contract with us, it would be a yes. Please go back and look at your W-9 in your portal. There should be a document library and it should tell you the date of that W-9. Put that date here. Now, if you don't have a contract with us, don't put no, because we need one. Just put yes, and you're going to go into your document library and upload a W-9. Okay, we need a W-9. Now, if you don't have a contract with us and you uploaded one recently in round 1, you would have one uploaded. But if you've never given us one in the last year or so, then you need to upload one and put the date. All right, so I'm going to put that I just uploaded it today, and here it is. Okay. This is also another misconception and a pitfall to avoid. During round 1, providers were very confused about capacity and they were entering enrollment numbers, okay? Please don't do that. This capacity that's already pre-populated comes from your profile. This question is only about capacity. So based on your DCF licensing, how much are you were you licensed to by capacity, by care level? So for example, I can have up to 8 children in infant care level, up to 12 children in toddler, up to 11 children in 2-year-olds, 35 for 3 and 8. So for total, my total capacity is 74. This number should match what your DCF license is. If DCF license says you have 150, well, then that's what the total should add up to. If these numbers are wrong, it means your profile is wrong. Otherwise, you shouldn't have to touch this at all. All right. Okay, moving on to section 3. This is one of the new questions that they added. Do you have a wait list? Now, what does that mean, a wait list? Well, this means that you have children that want to come to your program, families that want to come to your program, but for whatever reason, whether you don't have the classroom open because you don't have teachers, or because you don't have the capacity for whatever reason, because you're fully enrolled, then you would put yes, for whatever reason that you do have that wait list, and you would tell us, what is your wait list by care level? How many children do you have in infant? If you don't have any in that care level, put a 0, otherwise it'll stay red. And tell us all the number of children. So as you can see, I'm saying that I have a total of 8 children that I have on a wait list. If I don't have a wait list, you simply put no, and those questions go away. But if you put yes, you have to fill it out. So for purposes of this training, I'm going to say I don't have a wait list. The next section is also slightly different because they want to know your number of children by part-time and full-time, okay? So again, this is exactly what we discussed in the calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. How many children do I have up to 12 months, part-time and full-time? I don't have any part-time, I only have full-time, but if you see, if I don't put anything in part-time, it's going to stay red and it's not going to allow me to submit. So you're going to go ahead and put that. I have 0 part-time children here. I have 20 children here. Now, I'm not going to have memorized what I told you I had on my calculator. Obviously, this is all fictitious. So for me, I'm just putting in numbers, but you need to put your actual enrollment, right? That matches November 4th if you're going to submit it today. Okay, so total children, again, I'm going to emphasize and repeat that this is total. I don't care if they're SR, I don't care if they're VPK, if they're the Children's Trust, if they receive grants from another entity, I don't care. It's the total children. But a friendly reminder that school age doesn't mean all your kids, because there's a lot of early learning programs that offer kindergarten and above. This is not for every single school age child. The intention is only for child care children. So the definition again for school age is if the child is in kindergarten up to the age of 12 and enrolled in child care. So if they come to your program for morning care or aftercare or breaks and holidays and they're enrolled, then you would put it here. So I have 15 children part-time enrolled, okay? Now remember I said that out of these total children, the state wants to know, of those children, please tell me which are Head Start, Early Head Start, or Early Head Start Child Care Partnerships, and which are school readiness. So I'm going to say that of these 10 children, I have 4 Early Head Start Child Care Partnership children, okay? However, of the 4 children, 2 of them also, they're duly funded and they have school readiness. So what does that mean? I'm going to remove the 4 and leave it at 2, and I'm going to put those 2 kids right here. Remember that I said that the reason why I want to put them under SR is because any child that receives any SR dollars, you want to put them here because you get an extra $70.20 per child that's school readiness, okay? So I have to put a 0 here. I don't have any more Early Head Start children, right? So I'm going to put 0 here and 0 here. I don't have any part-time 2-year-olds. I don't have any part-time 3-year-olds, and I have 15 part-time school age. And out of the 15, sorry, only 10 are school readiness. So I'm going to put 10 there. All right. Then full-time children, again, this is only school readiness. So of the 20, how many are school readiness? I'm going to put that 15 because the other 5 are either VPK, our private pay, or the Children's Trust. Now, if you have some of these children that are VPK that are also duly funded through school readiness, then you would count that child here under school readiness, okay? Otherwise, just put your school readiness numbers. Any child that receives school readiness funds. All right, I filled everything out, so all the reds went away. I'm done. Do you offer childcare services? In other words, non-traditional. Remember, I gave you the definition. Non-traditional doesn't mean that you open till 6:30 or 7, so you're considered a yes. No, you have to have an extra licensing piece from DCF that authorizes you to open nights and weekends. So I'm going to put no because most of the time, well, for my purposes of this training, I'm going to say no. Most of the yeses I've seen only from family childcare homes. And that's not all family homes, by the way. All right, section 4. This section is not for how you plan on utilizing the funds for this grant. This section is only for your operating expenses of your business, okay? So your business, whether it's a family childcare home or it's a center, if it's a center, it's a full business. If it's a family childcare home, please remember that your entire home is not considered your business. It's whatever you can claim on your taxes. It's usually a percentage, whether that be a 25%, a 15%. That's what we want to see here. We don't want to see your entire home cost, right? Only your business. So for payroll, what are your costs? Monthly costs for payroll. What are your benefits? Now you're probably wondering what is benefits? Well, benefits can include vacation, health care, time off for your staff. Those are things considered benefits, but I will show you a document that explains to you these categories. So I'm going to put 15,000. Other personnel costs, I don't have any. Rent or mortgage, that's my monthly cost. Facility expenses, utilities, insurance, liability insurance, maintenance. Personal protective equipment, I don't need it anymore for my school, so I haven't bought any. Training expenses, just on health and safety practices, not any type of training. This is any training related to health and safety practices that you've done. Remember that the idea of this grant came because of COVID. So have you done, or are you doing, I should say, any health and safety trainings related to COVID or anything at all related to that subject? I'm going to put no, I haven't spent any dollars. Equipment and supplies in response to COVID. No, I have not spent any dollars. Okay. So as you can see, I'm telling the state that I have an average of $85,000 monthly expenses on my business. Okay. Then it's asking me 2 additional questions. Any goods or services to maintain or resume childcare services due to COVID? No, I don't have any. Now, if you do have a monthly expenses as of right now, go ahead and write the description. If you put an amount here, it's going to ask you for a description. It's going to turn in red. Okay, so if you don't describe it, it's not going to go away. If you describe it, it'll go away. All right, so I'm going to put 0 here because I don't have any. So sometimes you highlight and you want to change it. It doesn't work. That's another downfall to the system, that you have to actually hit backspace for it to go away. All right, and then it turns into 0 again. And then the red box will go away. Do I have any expenses monthly on mental health supports for my children and family and staff? No, I do not, so it's a 0. If you do provide mental health supports that you pay out of pocket, not that you're involved with the community and they give it to you for free, but that you pay out of your business, then you would go here. Otherwise, that's it, you're done. See? Again, it says this is not the amount you will receive. The purpose is to calculate your average monthly expenses of your business. So that's it, I'm done. I go to section 5. This is where you want to tell me, where do I want to utilize these funds? Okay, remember that I said on the grant calculator that I'm going to get roughly $114,000. Well, I don't want to spend the funds in any of this stuff. I want to spend it on my teachers and on my rent or facility maintenance. That's it. Now, if you're one of those people that you do want to spend it on a little bit on everything, you can select as many as you want. Just put a description here in detail of how you plan on spending that. Now, you're probably wondering, what are these categories and what do they mean? Well, if we go back to the ELC website under providers, provider corner, it takes you here and you click on the American Rescue Plan Act. If you go all the way to the bottom, resources. This is the document, spending and documentation guide. That is going to open up in a separate tab. And here are the categories, and you can see what they mean. So for purposes of this application, I have no idea what goods and services mean. Let's go find out. Goods and services. When I click on that little hyperlink, it takes me here. It tells me here are a few examples. Childcare management services, books and curriculum, active play. So any type of materials and equipment for the facility, payroll and bookkeeping, materials for diapering, for sleep, for play, fees and costs associating with licensing, obtaining licensing. So as you can see, it gives me examples. Yes, I want that. So I would go back and put here, yes, and I would put the details. I want to use these funds for blah, 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 blah. Okay, so give me the details. If not, it's gonna be kicked back to you if I don't know exactly how you're gonna spend the funds in this category. Mental health support for children and employees. Again, that is very specific. So when I go back here, if I want to know what mental health support services are here, mental health consultations for owners, directors, and employees, mental health consultations for children, purchasing mental health smartphone apps for owners, directors, and employees. Those are the only items. So if you don't plan on getting that, just don't check it. Okay. And that is it. I'm done with how I plan on utilizing my funds. Please indicate if you're planning to use these funds to reimburse the business for expenditures prior to March 11th, 2021. If you put yes, please make sure that those expenditures fall in line with these categories. It can't just be any expenditures like, oh, I purchased, something for personal reasons. It has to be expenditures for the business and categorized in one of these categories. Okay, so I'm going to put no, because my idea for my program is to invest in my staff so that I incentivize them to stay and they don't go to the program next door that's offering 50 cents more, right? Or to hire new staff because I'm in need of staff. That's my purpose for this application, so I'm going to put no. Now, section 6, this is where it just tells you how much we're giving you per child. So in the calculation, if you remember, here it doesn't tell you per child, it automatically calculates for you. But section 6 tells you that for every infant up to 24 months, you're going to get $867. For the next care level, you're going to get $702. For the next care level, $540, and so on. So this is just informational purposes so that you see how the system is calculating it for you. And then here are the bonus amounts. And as you can see, only SR contracted are for the class composite scores, not BPK, okay? And the only question in this section is, are you going to invest 25% of the total grant on the staff? So listen to the description. I want to make sure I read it to you. On staff above and beyond regular payroll benefits and benefits. So even if you pay them today, healthcare, you're not going to include that. This is only for bonuses, wage increase, healthcare if you've never given them before, retirement, educational advances, or tuition reimbursement from the receipt of the funds. So if you just gave a bonus today or a wage increase today, and you receive funds in December 1st, you can't include that. It's anything from the time that you receive the funds forward. This has not changed since the round one. This is also the same thing as round one. All right. So I'm going to click yes, that I'm going to invest in the staff so I can get that additional 10%. All right. Last but not least, we have about 40 minutes left. So provider certification. Super important. This is like a contract. Okay. These are federal dollars. Please do not skip this. I know it's very small font and it's a lot to read, but you need to read this because these are federal dollars and you don't want to find yourself paying back the federal government because you did something incorrectly or because you didn't follow the policy and procedure of this, right? These are terms and conditions. Please read them. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay. There's also some helpful links because it also says, I will implement policies in line with guidance and orders from the state and local authorities to the greatest extent possible with guidance from the U.S. Center for Disease Control, blah, 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 and so on. So you need to implement policies. Click on these items if you don't have them because you can't say, yes, I'm going to and sign this and you don't even know what this is. So please follow the instructions. You want to avoid paying back any dollars. These are free dollars, but if you don't follow the guidance and procedures and terms and conditions, you'll have to pay them back. All right, so we're officially done. As you can see, I don't have a submit button. Right away, I know I don't have a submit button because there's no green button that says submit. That just means that I can only save for later or cancel, okay? Or I can go back up section by section to see what's in red. So if I remember leaving something in red on purpose to show you this, and it's my email. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in this red. So that now my submit button should show up. There it is. You see, the save for later went away. So now I fill this out, my name, checkbox, and submit. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. This is officially the end. And now I'm going to go ahead and open it to questions. So go ahead and go to your reactions and raise your hand. Again, I'm still recording this because these questions will be helpful for other providers. I should say that I did have 2 other sessions on Wednesday, and let me share real quick those questions in case you have the same questions, okay? And Miss Ali, we'll begin with you. Just give me 1 second. So some of the questions already asked were, how long do we have to spend these funds? Well, again, if you go to the FAQ, it'll give you all the information, but just to give you a heads up, you have till September 2023 to utilize these funds, okay? A lot of people were asking tax questions. Is this taxable? Yes, every grant that the coalition gives out is taxed, okay? If you have specific questions on taxing, you need to speak to your accountant. We cannot guide you on those specific questions, okay? But all revenues received for centers are all reported on your yearly taxes. Some people asked, well, so I have some children that are in a refugee program. Is that also school readiness? No, it's not. School readiness is school readiness. The refugee program is a refugee program, and I think that's handled by DCF. That's a separate grant, separate funds. So it's not the same. Then providers were asking, should I wait? I'm going to be assessed in 3 weeks. Should I wait? We can't answer that question. That's up to you. You have till the early December, the first week of December, to submit your application. If today you have a 3.0 and you're due for your annual assessment in 2 weeks and you get assessed and you're even lower than that, then it's going to affect you, right? Because you're not going to get that bonus. But if you're a 4 today and you don't know what you're going to be, you can submit with the score today. Now, if you don't have a score at all and you want to wait, you can wait. But remember that it's the most current score, okay? So it's up to you whether you wait or not. How do I identify part-time and full-time? Remember I said this earlier. I can't identify that for you, okay? If you're solely, one thing that I do want to remind you guys again, is if you're solely Head Start, then you're not eligible for this grant. Now, if you have children that are duly funded, that receive private pay dollars, school readiness, VPK, and Head Start, then you would enter the enrollment how I showed you, and then the system is going to subtract all the Head Start children, whether they're early Head Start, or early Head Start childcare partnerships. Can I use these funds to hire substitutes? Yes, of course. Remember, these funds are to help you, again, regain business and be able to be at full capacity. So yes, absolutely. Can I give bonuses also to the directors? Yes, the bonus is for anyone, even the cooks in your program, they're helping you. Even the the staff, the maintenance staff, or the bus driver. The bonus is for anyone working at the program. If I'm faith-based and I'm exempt, tax exempt, are these also, do I have to claim taxes? Yes, the taxes don't go away. This is a grant that's that you have to claim taxes at the end of the year. Again, for more details, speak to your accountant. Are TCT children considered private pay? Remember that that you're going to enter all children regardless of funding source. And then on the right column, you're only going to tell me of the total, how many receive school readiness funding, how many are early Head Start or Head Start. Again, there's a discrepancy on the last day to submit application. Just go with the earliest date of December 12th, okay? And then if that changes, we'll let you know, but otherwise, please don't submit beyond December 12th, because if we lock the system, we won't have a way to give you the ability to apply. All right, those are pretty much all the questions that were asked in the other sessions. Now I'm going to go ahead and unmute. Miss Ali, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, it's good to see you again. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay, my question is, I just want to confirm because I'm a participant of the Thrive by 5. So I do receive fundings from the TCT component. Do I include them with the school readiness, or because that's a separate pot of money, we do not include them? I can't hear you. Are you muted?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was. Thank you. So that's something I mentioned earlier a couple of times, and I'm glad you're asking again for clarification. The Children's Trust has nothing to do with school readiness. Those are two separate fundings. VPK is a separate funding. So if you're receiving dollars from school readiness, if you have TCT children, you would just put those children under total enrolled. You would not put those children under school readiness because they're not school readiness children.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Miss Makisha, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, thank you so much for your assistance today. I have 2 questions. One of the questions is related to the 25% for the workforce maintenance.
Okay.
It says that there has to be an increase from the time of payment. So when do we expect the disbursements to come out?
So yes, correct. The workforce investment, I made sure I emphasize that several times, that if you made a bonus today or if you gave a wage increase today and you don't get the funds till December, that doesn't count. I can't tell you the date that you're going to get the funds because that's a little difficult when we have 1,500 providers in our community. I can tell you that once you see the status change to approved on your application, the ELC usually pays within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
So that means also, with that being said, we can't use that 25% to reimburse any increases that we may have provided because we thought we would get the grant.
Right.
So
it has to be from the time that you receive the funds.
Okay. And then the other question is, I want to see clarity because the school readiness was a big issue for a lot of people last time, and children that you have in your facility. Part of our facility is partially DCF funded, but not so, like maybe the front half of the building is not funded, has a DCF license, and then the rest of the facility does not have a DCF license. But I may have children in school readiness who are school aged who are not under the DCF license. Am I including all the children in the program?
That's a great question. If you have a facility that's split and part of that facility does not have a DCF license, those children are not eligible, so you would not count those children. If you have multiple facilities, it's one application per facility, but they do have to be DCF licensed.
Okay, so our school-age children who are not in the DCF license, we would need to expand our license in order to include them. Okay,
Correct.
thank you for the clarity.
All right, you're welcome. All right. Let's see. Miss Heather Marie, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Can you hear
morning.
me?
Yes, we can.
I have two questions. One, I do not offer school readiness. We're a small program with 35 children. So does that mean that we just have a straight DCF license? This came up during the update your CC&R. So since I do not offer, I don't have a contract. I do have a contract with you. That's how I received the previous grant, but I do not have a school readiness grant. Does that mean we're not eligible for this grant at all?
No, that is not correct. That's what I mentioned earlier. This grant is just like round one. It's not just for programs contracted with a coalition. This grant is the same as round one. It's for any provider in the community that meets the eligibility criteria. What I mentioned earlier is that if you don't have a DCF license, if you didn't have one prior to March 11th, 2021, then yes, you have to have an SR contract to meet the CCDF, Child Care Development Fund, health and safety requirement. Now, if you had a license prior to March 11th, 2021, then you don't need to be contracted with a coalition.
Thank you so much. I missed that small piece. My second question is, I could not find in the profile where I update the CCR and R.
So you would have to email us so that we can put you in touch with a contracts manager so that they can assist you. But you'll have to email us. Our email was put in the chat box. I'll have the staff put it again so that you can email us directly.
And then my last question, I do realize it's taxable. Are we able to set funds aside from the actual grant to pay the taxes on it?
That's a great question. No, you are not. These funds are only for the categories that were identified on the application.
Okay, wonderful. And those were my only questions. Thank you so very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. And for emails that anyone is sending us emails, please always remember to send me your provider ID. For the grant application, I can't find you by name. And we have a lot of programs that have very similar names. So always give me your provider ID in the email. You can probably always add it to your subject and tell me what the subject is, obviously. That would be helpful. All right, Miss Jacqueline.
Hi, I have 4 questions. Thank you for the training. It's been really good.
You're welcome.
So for the first grant, what if I already spent like let's say I would have spent 25% of it on the workforce incentive. Would I have to spend 25% on this one as well?
Yes. So what she's asking for those of you on the call is that there's a separate grant, round one, round two. They're totally independent, separate grants. So whatever you were supposed to do, terms and conditions under round one has nothing to do with round two. So if you're eligible and we approve you for round two, you have to commit to the new 25% from the time that you receive the funds.
Okay. Okay, I'm just writing that down. Okay, my next question is the application, if we didn't do it, the CCR and R?
Child Care Resource and Referral, that's your profile.
Yes, so we have to create a new one for 2022, 2023?
Yes, to be eligible for this grant, yes, you do.
Okay, and how do I know if I did that already?
If you go into your portal, you should be able to see all the profiles that you have. But if you can't see them, again, since that's more of a non-general question, you can email us your provider ID and let us know exactly what you need, and we can guide you from there, or we can put you in touch with someone in the contracts department.
Right, and that's the provider services portal, right? Just to make sure.
That's the portal that I, let me go back and share with you guys exactly, because yeah, there's always a question about where's this portal. So bear with me.
Yeah.
1 second.
There's a lot of portals.
Yeah, and the portal is the
Yeah.
same one that you've done your school readiness or VPK. And if you don't have a school readiness or VPK contract, it's the portal where you did your round one. So let me show you how to get to that portal. If you go to the EOC website, a website is very different than a portal.
Mm.
You scroll to the purple box where it says provider portal. You click on provider portal if you don't have this saved on your favorites. And right here it says provider portal link. The first link is the one that you click on, and that's where it takes you. All right,
Okay.
all right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anything
And
else?
then where will, I'm sorry, just to make sure, where will it say, like, once you go on there, where will it show 2022, 2023?
Again, that's more specific, so just send us an email, but you'll see, because right now I'm using someone's login and I don't want to show you her information, but you'll see your
Got it.
profile. If you can't figure it out by surfing your dashboard, then send us an email and we can guide you.
Got it. Okay. My next question is, the part of the application that's asking for a current waiting list.
Mhm.
So I don't have a waiting list per se because we're booked. I have a waiting list because I get calls from parents that have, like, let's say a 1-year-old, but I haven't been able to hire a teacher. You know, it's been really hard to get teachers. So could that be appropriate for me to be like, yeah, there's a current waiting list, not because we're full, but because there's a waiting list of parents that call like every week to see if we got the 1-year-old teacher.
So I can't give you the definition of a wait list. Everybody's definition is slightly different. It doesn't matter for what reason. If you're audited and you say yes, you just have to show proof that you had a wait list at that time of application. The reasons why
Right.
you have a wait list, there is no one reason. There's many reasons why a provider could have a wait list of children waiting to go into their program, whether their classroom is closed, whether they don't have teachers, whether they're already at capacity. Regardless, the
Mhm.
definitions for wait lists is, you know, it can go on forever on the types of definitions. So I can't tell you the definition.
Right.
It's for any wait list that you have. As long as you can show proof that you have a wait list, that's what we want to know.
So I would have to show proof, like a physical wait list.
Well, again, these are federal dollars, so you will be audited. If you use the spending and documentation guide, it should guide you on how to document anything for this grant.
Got it. Okay, I just have one more question. So, thank you for that. So when it's asking you, the section that's asking like for goods and services to maintain childcare,
Mhm.
so we did get Gold Seal approved this year. And, you know, we paid to have obviously the staff that trained my staff on how to, you know, get Gold Seal and everything. Can you put what I spent towards that under that section?
You need to use the spending and documentation guide that gives you examples. If you don't see the example on there, send us an email and we'll find out with the Division of Early Learning.
Okay, thank you.
Because that's what that document is for,
um,
to give you examples under each category.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks.
All right, Miss Ebony Johnson, sorry, Miss Ebony Johnson.
Good morning. My
morning.
question is, because we have more than one site, so usually you have to fill out, will the application come or you have to do it per site?
Yes, it's one application per location, the same as it was for round one.
And so just to confirm, under the part where it has agency budget, usually, you know, agency budget is the totally agency. Do you want us to extract just that site budget?
Yes.
And so we have, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why they're asking you to do one application per site. They only want to know your monthly business expenditures for that location.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Gabriel?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My first question is if how do we find our taxpayer or provider identification number to register as a new provider account? Because we don't yet have a provider account. We've been a religious exempt center and we don't provide VPK or school readiness.
Right, so if you're new to the coalition and you didn't fill out round one, right? You're saying you didn't apply for round one ARPA?
Correct, we did
Right,
not.
so send us an email and we'll give you the steps on creating a childcare resource and referral profile. Just let
Okay.
us know who you are, since you're not gonna have a provider ID. You're gonna give us a DCF license number. If you're exempt, you have to just let us know that your DCF is exempt. Let us know your program name, address, and your name, and let us know that you've never been to the coalition, never applied for anything, that you need access to the CCR&R, and then we'll give you the steps.
To the CCR&R.
Yeah, it's childcare resource and referral.
Okay, and we would send that over to the quality initiatives email?
Yes, the email that's been posted, yes.
Perfect. My other question is, in section 1 or section 2 of the application, I don't recall which one, we were asking about the license date question. So we have a program who received its exemption, its religious exemption in March of 22, not 21. So we'd normally put no on that first question.
Right,
For that second question, however, we also are not, like I said, a school readiness provider, so we would normally click no. But we received our accrediting body came in and did their health and safety checklist in May, so after we got the exemption.
but it's, yeah, so it's not the health and safety of DCF, right? That's why I said that if you have no on the first question, the second question, in a simple terms, you have to have an SR contract. If you don't have an SR contract and you were licensed after March 11th, 2021, which in your case you were, that program's not gonna have access to applying.
Even if we're religious exempt?
Correct, even if you're religious exempt.
Okay,
Okay.
2 more questions real quick. In section 4,
Mhm.
does a school with a child care center own, and obviously a school-aged children that operates like a regular school, it just include expenses for the child care center portion of the school, or for the whole like pre-K to 8th grade school?
You would include the expenses for anyone under that license, for that school under that license, like any
Okay.
expenses, yeah.
Okay, and then the last question is, after we receive the money and money is spent, what kind of documentation needs to be submitted, if any?
Okay, that's a great question. On the document that I showed you that's on the ELC website under ARPA, it's called Spending and Documentation Guide. That tells you and gives you examples on how to save documentation for auditing purposes.
Okay, in which guide again?
Spending and Documentation Guide. It's
Okay.
one of the resources in our website under ARPA.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Miss Lynn Pinos. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Already, the round 1 installment 2, I'm filling out the survey now. We did use $58,000 in bonuses, but that was given on May and I didn't apply until June. Can I use those bonuses towards the workforce incentives?
No, you cannot. The workforce incentive for round 1 and for round 2, because it didn't change, is at the time that you receive the funds and forward.
Okay, I don't know why I have the impression we can use them for back months.
No,
Okay.
no, you can use the grant to back pay the business to reimburse the business for stuff prior to March 11th, 2021. That's for the business, but for the workforce incentive, the idea is from the time that you receive the funds forward.
Got it. So when I'm filling out the application now, the survey, I can put in their rent and anything else that we use from the application moving forward, but just not the workforce incentives that was done prior, correct?
Yes. And for purposes of this training, Miss Lane is asking questions right now around round 1 that had 3 different installments, right? So in order to receive your second and your third installment, you have to fill out a survey. You only have access to the survey on the portal once it's already been 80 days from your prior one. So those are her questions. So yes, your survey, you would fill out if you haven't spent any funds, since technically you have till September 2023, you wouldn't put any dollars spent. But if you have spent a few funds on some of the categories, that's what you would document.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm sorry to hope not to confuse everybody.
No,
Thank
not
you.
at all.
Okay. Awesome.
Not at all.
Thank
You're welcome. Yeah, anyone that if you have questions around 1, I'm okay answering those questions. It looks like we only have one more question. Miss Charita, unmute yourself. Miss Charita.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. My question was, I haven't received the second reimbursement from the first round. It wouldn't be would I get approved for the second one?
That's a great question. These are two independent individual applications. So regardless of what status you're in round one, let's say that you're approved tomorrow for round two, you're going to get paid for round two, even if we haven't paid you for your second or third installment in round one.
Wow, okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. All right, we have Miss Lisa. Unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to clarify all these questions because they've been pretty helpful.
No, you're welcome.
We received already our second installment for round one, and we are in the process of providing our staff the 25% for the grant of the workforce part.
Okay.
Now, if we're giving that now, like we're planning on doing this for the end of November, and
Okay.
I apply for the second round, and I know they're both due in September, if I use that 25% that's coming for round two, do they kind of overlap each other, or when I disperse the funds, will it count for one and two if I don't do it on time? How does that work?
No, unfortunately, both grants are separate. So let's say you're going to claim that you have two teachers and you gave Fiorella and Maria under round one. Well, if you want to give Fiorella and Maria another bonus around two, you can do that. But if you don't, then it wouldn't count for both applications because you're getting additional dollars, right? So those additional dollars are to continue to give bonuses and incentivize your staff to keep them. So it wouldn't count for both.
So I can go ahead and use my 25% now. Let's say I use half of the 25% now, and then in February, I want to do another one, but I'm already getting the second round as well. I can just move that one forward and do it in another 2 months, like kind of like a quarterly.
Yeah, how you do it is entirely up to you, as long as both applications are treated separately and you provide documentation and they don't overlap, meaning that you can't count this receipt for round one and count it for round two because you're getting additional dollars. It's not like we're making you fill out a separate application to just identify the first set of funds that you were
Correct.
given.
I just want to make sure that we got to keep everything completely separate
Yes,
and
you do.
justify for each grant.
Yes,
That's all.
absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. All right, Miss Heather Marie.
I'm so sorry. I had one last question, if
It's
I may.
okay.
So like I said, my facility is very small, and we are paying back $18,000 of rent when we were closed for COVID. So, for example, I personally had to pay that out of my savings because we could not operate. Now, on this grant, I can just be paying rent with it, correct?
You
Or
can
do I have to
utilize
prove
these
why
funds.
I'm paying my rent?
You can utilize these funds however you wish, as long as there's a category for it. It's up to you. As long as there's an approved category, so rent is one of those, you can use your funds just for that.
Okay, because our overhead is insane. Our rent is like $8,000 for a very small room, but I can just simply put that. And if I were to be audited, I just say I paid my rent with it. I don't have to say why I paid my rent with it. I can clearly just pay my
Just
rent.
look at the documentation and spending guide. It'll tell you exactly how to document every category.
Okay, and I can use it, like you said, for the back rent as well to repay myself for
If
that.
it's prior to March 11th, 2021, you would just have to click on that yes button.
Excellent. And now I already filled this out and it was kicked back. So now that I took this today, I can go back in and resubmit it.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. You're so informative. I greatly appreciate you.
No, you're welcome. And so for the rest of you, I just want to share with you that the reason why Miss Heather Marie said it was kicked back, many of you, the application launched on Sunday night from the Division of Early Learning, and a lot of you were already on the portal, so you were filling them out. We didn't want anyone to fill this out without attending this session because, again, we have those common mistakes that were done under round one. So to avoid the back and forth, we just returned all the applications and you're able to see it. So because of that, because we returned your application, you may no longer see that pop-up box with the grant calculator. So I'm going to quickly share my screen to show you now where you would go to access that grant calculator if it doesn't pop up. So again, I'm on the ELC website. I'm going to go to providers, provider corner. I'm going to scroll down to American Rescue Plan Act. And then I'm going to scroll down to resources. There is an FAQ. This is the document that I'm telling you is like a Bible. It has all the questions and answers you can think of, okay? In here, you're gonna find the calculator, okay? The calculator is very useful in order for you to be able to, there it is, on section page 5, section 3.2, grant calculator. If I click on that hyperlink, the calculator opens up. So I don't need to have the pop-up box. That's where it's located. And again, this document is super useful because again, it's, I think 7 or 8 pages, 17 pages on various questions like eligibility. When will I get my money? How long do I have to spend these dollars? You know, any question that has been asked in round 1, the state has been adding them to this, and that's why this document is so lengthy. So again, please read the FAQ before you reach out to us. We oversee the community, which is over 1,500 programs, so it's very hard to respond to you. I try to respond within 48 hours, but sometimes I don't make that. So it's better that you read the document and you familiarize yourself with that before you reach out to us. So with that said, it looks like I can give you back 10 minutes back to your calendar. We don't have any question. Oh, we have one more question. School director, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Very, very far. It's very hard to hear you, but I do hear that you're saying something.
All right, yes. What is the stipulated time to spend the money grant?
You have till September 2023 to spend the dollars.
All right, thank you very much. And the first grant is
The same date. For round 1, it's the same date.
September 2023. Thank you so much, Fiorella.
All right, you're welcome. All right, with that said, thank you all for attending. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and we will send out a news alert with the link in case any of your colleagues or that you want to rewatch it. And thank you all. Have a great weekend.